In the previous video, we set up your AWS account for the first time, set up an IAM sub-account, and talked briefly about budgets and how to safeguard your account. I want to take us back to our slide from a few slides earlier, which is the domains of cloud technology. And I list them here as compute, storage, network, and data. I want to continue the momentum and use that AWS account that you just created and hop right into something that I want you to experience, even though it may seem initially trivial. So the second domain is what we're going to touch on right now, which is storage. And we're going to go to the Amazon S3 service, the simple storage service. We're going to do something that's very easy, but yet very powerful. If you picked up from the last video, I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So we're going to use the AWS icon on the left part of the web browser to take us to the console home. It always takes us back to the same spot, so it's a good way to recenter ourselves. In the Find Services, you can type S3, and it'll come up as a clickable link, or it may even already be there under your recently visited services if you happen to have been poking around without me guiding you through the process. So let's hop to the S3 portion of the Management Console and look around there. On this first page, you can see that you do not have any buckets. That's telling you that you don't have any containers for storage that are currently set up on Amazon S3. S3 uses this concept of a bucket to keep everybody's data segregated. Each bucket is specific to an account, and then you fill that bucket up with data. So the first thing we're going to do here is create a bucket. I'm going to call this RVU DHT bucket 2020. And I'm going to place it initially in the Ohio region. You can see that AWS has dozens of regions. There's 4 of them in the US. We'll use Ohio, but it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so we have our bucket name. This name has to be globally unique, meaning that no one has ever used this name before. I'm pretty sure this will work, but we'll just check it here. Looks like it went through. On this page, it's asking you whether you want to keep old versions of the file, whether you want to log requests. For right now, we're just going to leave all this alone, but in the future, you have choices about how you do things like automatically encrypt files and do logging and those types of things. On the next page, you have the option of whether you want to block access or whether you want this to be accessible to the public. By default, AWS is very careful and lets you block access by default so that even if you upload something, nobody outside your AWS account can get to it. You can imagine how this little checkbox goes terribly wrong for people. They might upload patient data or other valuable files like logs of their activity, bank account information, and then someone stumbles across it on the internet and it's all exposed. So in this case, we're going to uncheck the box, but generally you want to be very careful. So it's even giving you a super powerful warning here to acknowledge that you're doing something that could be dangerous. So uncheck it, click Next. So now it's giving you a confirmation review step. It gives you the name, the region, some of these questions that we addressed along the way, and we're going to now do Create Bucket. All right, so you can see here that it made the RVU DHT bucket 2020. It's telling you the objects can be public and that it's in Ohio. It was created on September 3rd. So what do you do with this? Well, we're going to upload a file to it. AWS has a very nice web interface that lets you upload files from your computer. So we'll go in here. I'm going to upload my resume file from my local computer. I know it's on my OneDrive. Maybe you want to do the same thing. What's the most recent one we got here? This one from May 30th we'll have to do. Okay, so there it is. It's ready to be uploaded. And you can see that I'm the owner. I have read and write permissions, and we're ready to go. So it's giving you the option, do not grant read access to this object, and it's recommending that. So we're going to address that in the future after we upload it. On this page, it's asking you how you want to store the data. So standard access, or it gives you less expensive options for whether you want to store it only in one region or whether you want to make it so it's not as accessible on short notice. In this example, I'm going to leave it to standard, but this will be one of the things we talk about after we do the file. Next, upload. Okay, so here we have the Webster resume file. It's now in my bucket, and you can see it's 128 kilobytes, etc. So if I click on that link, you can see probably the most important thing that we'll touch on in this video, and that is that this object, this file, now has a URL on the internet. You guys are familiar with typing URLs into the browser. It's the same thing with this file. It's now accessible through the S3 service, and if you click on it, we'll see what happens. Well, look, it's access denied. Now, why is that? We tried to check the boxes. We tried to make it publicly accessible, and it's still denied. So this is AWS looking out for you, at least in its own mind, and you're going to run into this type of experience as a cloud participant. What do you do about it? Well, they give you a link, make public. So success, right? So now we can click on it. If you want to verify it, you can click the permissions, right? But basically, they're wanting you to take the extra step to put something on the internet, and you'll be very careful, and that way you won't get yourself and your whole organization in trouble by using their interface. So I'm guessing someone did a study for AWS and said, if we just make it this little bit harder, it'll save us millions of dollars in confusion and embarrassment, and it might even save our customers some money and embarrassment as well. Now, I know, let's look at this thing here. It's been 7 whole minutes that it took to upload a file to the internet. And I think you guys have used tools like Google OneDrive and Microsoft OneDrive. I guess it's Google Drive and Microsoft OneDrive, various other cloud storages. So I'm not showing you anything that you probably couldn't have figured out how to do. But what I need you to understand is that storage is one of the fundamental offerings in the cloud. And as you saw in just that little bit of clicking through the wizard, the cloud service provider that offers the most storage options is the one that you want to deal with as your partner. So what is the significance of S3 in the overall sense? Well, when S3 came out in 1993, there was nothing like a cloud storage provider. There wasn't Dropbox, there wasn't Google Drive, and there wasn't this idea that no matter how much data you might have from your application, that you can find a home for it. So here with S3, you can upload files that are terabytes in size. The buckets can have virtually unlimited capacity. You can have an unlimited number of buckets. You can replicate them all over the world without anything happening. You can set up storage policies for how long the data is retained. That might be things like for HIPAA compliance or for IRS tax fraud deadlines. So this idea that any data you have can be stored in one cloud provider and is guaranteed to be there with virtually no probability of loss or risk to you. That was a revolutionary offering. So S3 became the place that everybody used to store everything from little teeny log files, images, think of all the cat pictures that are out there, huge video files that there had never been a place for before. All these types of things that we take for granted, that flowed from this idea of storage in the cloud. So it's a fundamental concept of the cloud, and I want you to appreciate it in its historical context, because without storage in the cloud, there really is no cloud. So from the S3 foundation, Amazon went on to layer many other cloud service offerings from the compute side or the database side, and they all tie back to S3 in the sense that you can read and write S3 data from all these different offerings, and you can be assured that whenever you make data or need to consume data, that S3 will always be there and will be able to answer the call. It will also be able to do it securely. So there's this saying that I've been repeating throughout the semester, if it's not working securely, it's not working. So without a solution like S3 that addresses security, that addresses scalability, you really can't have a working cloud product. So without cloud products, you don't get the planet scale offerings. You don't get the scalability to make your website work on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Your website goes down and it causes you to lose money and lose sleep. So if you think about our offerings that we're thinking about in the digital health sector, you need to have this planet scale mindset before you even start. So you can't have your emergency, your electronic health record system not work on Tuesdays when it's busy. The Kansas data can't be lost for some reason because, there was a tornado that went through, or the Louisiana data can't get lost because there was a hurricane that came through that day. The data has to always be there, just like we count on the electric utility to always be there. So I'm not going to continue on, but I continue belaboring the point. But I wanted to use S3 as the first service with your brand new AWS account, so you would have a planet scale mindset from the beginning, with an emphasis on unlimited scalability and unlimited durability and uptime. We'll stop here.